Zack Snyder's Justice League was one of my most anticipated films of this year besides Halloween Kills and The Conjuring The Devil Made Me Do It. And this film did not disappoint. It was so good and improved on pretty much every aspect that the original got wrong, besides the CG. For one, it had a much more fleshed out story. They really used this 4 hour runtime to really bring in more character development, to go more into their backstory, and to create a more engaging story. And even with the 4 hour runtime, it still managed to feel so well paced. I did not feel the length of the runtime at really any moment. That might be most people's concern, is that, oh, I don't want to sit through a 4 hour long movie, but no, this does not feel like 4 hours. I also appreciate how they didn't feel the need to over explain things or go into too much exposition. Like they let it be more experienced visually and on screen, which is one major improvement from the original. And in general, the pacing was really good, minus the last 20 minutes, really. That last 20 minutes was essentially just an epilogue and a bit of sequel setup, too. It felt completely unnecessary to the rest of the story, and that's really my only issue as far as pacing goes. For the most part, this is a very fast film. It does not feel like 4 hours, as I said. In general, I love how they really gave more backstory to these characters, especially Cyborg. In the original Justice League film, they did not really give that much backstory to Cyborg. Like, you didn't really care for his character because there was a little development to him. But here, there is so much more time dedicated to his backstory, to his development, to where you can actually care for him, you can appreciate his character more, and you can relate to him better, which I love here. They also go deeper into his family life. In general, they make him feel more relatable, more human. Especially the Flash, too. They also make him very relatable as a human being, even with him being a superhero who can run at hyper speed. In general, I just love the character development of this film entirely. And they also bring in some great acting, especially from Ben Affleck as Batman. That was definitely my favorite acting performance of this film. I also really appreciated Ezra Miller's acting performance as the Flash because he really made the character feel more charismatic, much more relatable, and he provided some really good sources of comic relief. Some of them in the original Justice League were not really that good. They didn't land well, but many of the really bad sources of comic relief were cut out here, and overall, it was much better in that sense. And another major positive of this film is I loved the final act here. It really wasn't as predictable as the original Justice League's final act was. It didn't feel as generic for a superhero film either. It was overall so much more exciting. There's so much more that they had going on with it, and they didn't try to bring in some really unnecessary subplot that the original did about that random family in the middle of nowhere being attacked by these aliens. It just felt so unnecessary to the rest of the story, and it slowed down the pacing. But here, they just completely did away with it. And it felt so much more well-paced, and it just worked so much better with the final act of this film. Now, one of my main issues with this film is the CGI. There are some moments where the CGI noticeably stands out, like it's a distraction to the eye. One with Superman or Henry Cavill, like they use CGI to remove the mustache from him, but like you noticeably see it. And a lot of the monsters too, like it's so obvious and distracting that it's CGI. The main villain though does look better. He does look more like a real alien, but it's some very minor improvements. But at the same time, I really wasn't expecting them to improve the CGI here, so there was really no surprise to it. It's just an issue that stood out to me, just as it did with the original. Now, one of the issues I had with the original film that's still prevalent with this new cut is the villain. He still feels very underwhelming. There's not much to him besides throwing the heroes around or hitting them occasionally, but not doing anything with it. You don't really feel that threatened by this villain, and you don't feel like this villain is a threat to the heroes either. Another issue is Cyborg doesn't really get the chance to do much in this film besides moving objects. That's it. They invest you in his character so much and go so deep into his backstory, but there's little actual payoff to it. so it kind of feels underwhelming by the end of the final act. And there's a certain song within the musical score that's used very repetitively, and a lot of times the musical score doesn't actually fit the tone of the scene they're trying to convey, and it feels so out of place. I really wish they had used the same sort of musical score they used with the first Justice League. That would have been a lot better. But with those issues aside, I think they improved on the first Justice League in so many ways, and I was very pleased by it. I'm giving Zack Snyder's Justice League, a B+. If you liked the original Justice League but was disappointed by the fact that the story and the character development was so rushed, then you're definitely going to find yourself really enjoying this film. But as always, I hope you enjoyed this review. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more, and I will see you in the next video.